Many thanks again for rejoining us on the program Politics Today on independent television and radio. Let's quickly take it to Abuja now, where Austin Agbe, Advocacy Officer and ECOWAS Liaison Lead, West Africa Democracy Solidarity Network, is joining us. He works to support democracy, governance and advocacy at the West African Democracy Solidarity Network as the Regional Advocacy Lead and ECOWAS Liaison Officer. His interest includes international politics, development, electoral integrity, countering mis- and disinformation in elections, leadership, and globalization. He has worked as program manager at the International Republican Institute, IRI, the American nonprofit organization committed to advancing freedom and democracy worldwide. Austin is also a PhD candidate at the Policy and Strategic Studies at the Abuja Leadership Center, University of Abuja, and has a master's degree from the New York University's Robert F. Wagner Graduate School of Public Service, specializing in international development, public and non-profit management and policy. Austin Agbe Omori, many thanks for joining us on the program.
It's indeed an honor to be joining you all the way from Abuja. Thank you so much, Dr. Sonny Duke Okosu.
It's a pleasure as always. Quickly share with us, I mean, there's been a lot of proposals on the part of INEC as reforms to engender and strengthening democracy in Nigeria by way of, sweeping reforms in INEC, talking about the phasing out of PVCs, and then, of course, diaspora voting opportunities and stuff like that. But let's get in on the phasing out of PVCs. What does this portend for conduct of election? Because this is a major fallout that we saw in the 2023 general election. Now we're moving towards 2027. What are your take?
Again, thank you. Indeed, what you talked about on the subject of conversation is actually an important one. If you look at the historical political landscape of Nigerian states, you agree that PVC alone is actually an injustice. I mean, the use of PVC alone for voting is more form of an injustice to voters. A voter went to the registration point, got registered, collected what they call the temporary voter's card far back in 2011 when the process started, gradually moving up to 2023, of course, 2025 and 2023. You recall in 2015, the use of the PVC, which was very critical because of the possibility of people manipulating the card for representation. In 2011 election, there was no device to ascertain whether a person who registered to vote is actually the individual bringing the card to the polling unit. So the PVC or the TVC, the temporary voter card at that time, was manipulated. Anybody can show up with a card and claim that that card was for him or her. Fast forward to 2015, when INEC then introduced what they call the smart card reader. The smart card reader was supposed to eradicate persons who are not the true owners of the PVC. So the card was supposed to verify that this individual who brought this card is the owner. And as at that time, the permanent voter card had embedded in it a microchip that can be used to verify, one, the authenticity of the card. Fast forward to 2023, when INEC had then introduced what they call the bimodal voter accreditation system, the BVAS. The BVAS continued with the process of the smart card reader, but with an added advantage. What is the advantage? The BVAS can truly generate the voter without necessarily using the voter's card. What the BVAS can do is to use the VIN number, the last 4 digits of the VIN number. For instance, if it's 1, 2, 3, 4, once you enter that number into that BVAS, the biodata of the voter pops up. To then verify that this individual is the one that actually owns it, the facial recognition or the fingerprint is used to then confirm the accreditation. Once that happens, the voter is good to go, and the voter is given a ballot paper and vote. In this current time, we do not need to go through the process of having to print the beavers, the permanent voters card, the PVC, to vote in an election. What a voter needs is actually the V number. And the V number is pasted. All of the voter register is pasted at the polling unit when election is going on. A voter can actually go to the point where it's posted, that's a voter's card, voter registration is posted, check the number, and come to the presiding officer and give the presiding officer the V number. It is entered, and the voter can vote. What is the advantage, therefore? Is that, number one, we will not be spending too much money in the printing of permanent voter card in and out of year. The money we spend on election every year is historic, and we don't have to do that, especially in a country that is struggling. You just finished a conversation now where tariff is being increased and all of that. Look at fuel subsidy removal and all that. And we are funding INEC to a record high of 300-something billion for election. No, we shouldn't be doing that at this time when this country is suffering. We do not also need to go through any process. Once a voter can identify beyond the PVC, we should also move towards the ballot papers. At this material time, we also do not need to spend so much money in the printing of ballot papers in our country. No. What do we need? We have spent money already on electronic device, which is the beavers. The beavers can truly become that machine for electronic voting. I am not talking about internet voting. There's a huge argument about internet voting, about the hacking and all of that. We recognize that. We do not need an internet voting at this time, but we need an electronic voting where every voter can still come to the polling unit using the beavers to vote. Would have reduced another trunk of money used in the printing of ballot paper. Dr. Okosun, let me tell you further that in 2023 election, there were about 120,000 ballot papers that were printed. Almost about 30 million or thereabout, or less than 30 million voters turned out to vote. What that means is that about 70 million or more of the ballot papers were cancelled and burnt. The implication of that is that we have wasted 70 million ballot papers. If you do that in monetary terms, assume that each ballot paper costs maybe 15 naira. Just do the calculation. 50 naira times 70 million or 80 million, depending on the number you want to calculate, you'll find out that we are wasting so much money on what should not have been. This is the right thing, and they should phase out PVC and allow voters to go online and print their ballot, the PVC card, and bring that to the polling unit to vote. And added to that, would have reduced drastically ballot permanent voter card stuffing, permanent voters theft, permanent voters card waste that we usually see in all of our elections. Every election, voters will hardly go to the polling INEC office to collect their PVC because of the task, the process with which you collect them. We do not need to go through that route anymore.
Okay. All right, let's quickly, before we let you go, we're also having another conversation with party chieftains on the relocation of the Edo State Governorship Election Tribunal to Abuja. Before we quickly link up with our other guests, one of the reforms on the part of INEC has to do with diaspora voting. I mean, in other climes, this is just as easy as having cakes, but this has been on for a long time, and then the Director General of the Diaspora Commission has also been, talking in that line. I was also part of the political anchors conversation in Abuja last year under the auspices of INEC, and this formed a very integral part of that conversation. How feasible is the possibility of diaspora, Nigerians in diaspora participating in the election? INEC is also having this on its table.
Yes, you see, the truth is this. Countries that does diaspora voting know where their citizens are? There's a record, very valid record of where citizens are located. In this country, with Jabba syndrome, how many are we? Let's even start with it. Even President Trump recently was arguing that even the American numbers is also uncertain. How many are we? Who are these diaspora voters that we want to use? It's a concern with this digital age, internet voting and all of that. I would want to propose that INEC should take this gradually by starting with what is also in the proposal, early voting. Early voting. Early voting means that there are a number of people who are in Nigeria that are not voting. Security officials, folks like you, Dr. Kosun, media officials who report on election duty, election observers, NYC officials who conduct those polls. They are in millions. Can we first of all deal with early voting for these election day actors and get them unbonded? That's what happened in Ghana election, where those who are involved with essential duties are given the opportunity to vote early, wherein we monitor that early voting. You don't count it until the final counting of poll. What will happen is that for Nigeria, because of the trust deficit that we have, early voting can happen where political party agents and all can systematically follow through that day of voting and follow the election result into a vote to be kept somewhere, maybe at the Central Bank of Nigeria. We can actually do early voting for diaspora voters so that we know, we follow up those results. For diaspora voters to vote on the day of election for this material time, I don't think it's realistic, even though I'm an advocate for it. I recall years ago, about 2011, where I worked with the South African electoral system to try to do early voting, which began in the US. And automatically, it started in New York before gradually moving on to other states of the United States. Because you know that before you vote, you need to have some very cogent data embedded in our system to be able to vote. If we open up some deep conversation, that may not go well ahead of 2027 election. But I believe early voting can work.
All right. Austin Omori, thank you so much for your time. It's always a delight to have you on the show. I hope we can always count on you subsequently. Thank you so much, Austin.
Thank you very much. It's an honor again. Thank you, Dr. Kosun.
Thank you.